Hey guys, it's Monica at Academic Phoenix Plus, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I requested ChatGPT to write the intro for me, so let me know what you think. Welcome, modelers and enthusiasts, to a special video presenting that will revolutionize your modeling pipeline. Today, we're going to unveil the top 5 modeling tips that will not only help you achieve speed, but also elevate the quality of your work. Whether you're a beginner seeking to enhance your skills or an advanced modeler looking for an extra edge, this video has something for everyone. But that's not all. We're going to put these techniques into action as we embark on a thrilling journey to quickly model a breathtaking Gothic rose window. Brace yourselves for a masterclass in precision and creativity. That's a little much, but there we go. Get ready to witness the power of these game-changing tips as we transform a blank canvas into a mesmerizing work of art. So whether you're here to refine your skills or simply immerse yourself in a captivating world of modeling, this video is tailor-made for you. Are you ready to take your modeling skills to new heights? Then let's dive right in and discover the secrets behind an efficient and stunning modeling pipeline. Let the journey begin. All right, what do you guys think of that intro? Pretty fun. A little over the top, but still pretty fun. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to be creating a Gothic rose window. So the first thing you always want to do before you start a new project is go to File, Project Window, click on New. I already created this project earlier, but click New, type in Gothic Rose Window and find a place for it, and then click Accept. This will give you a folder with all the Maya folders that you need. Very important. The second thing you need to do is make sure that in your source images, you have your reference images. As you can see, I found some cool ones. This one's beautiful. This is what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like on the outside, but somebody has already laid it out. And it uses geometric shapes to demonstrate how cool this is. This is what it looks like overall. Pretty cool. We're going to be focusing on this particular area, the petals and everything, but I'm going to be demonstrating modeling techniques that help you quickly model these assets. And here it is on the outside in real life. A little dirty, but that's okay. It's still beautiful. All right, let's get started with creating an image plane. Let's go to Create, Free Image Plane, open up the attributes, Control A, and then hit the little folder. There it is. If you did it right and everything's set correctly, it should automatically go to source images and you can grab the reference image that you want. And I am grabbing this one. There it is. I'm going to grab this and pull it back and rise and scale. Voila. Over here to the right, we have our display layers. This is found in your channel box. So Control A if you don't see it. And we're going to go and click on this little one, which is like a little white piece of paper with a teal sphere on it that creates a new layer and assigns the object to it. Click this twice and now it's referenced. So that means that I can't accidentally grab it. So tip number 1, use your display layers. When you add your reference images, make sure you know how to use these display layers so you can hide them, you can model without interfering with it, and it's fantastic and it doesn't even render, which is even better. Gonna double click, let's rename it reference layer and save. All right, I'm ready. So we all know the typical way that we've been taught to model, which is you take a cube, and I'm going to use the 2 views, which you can find over here on the left. And I'm going to make sure that I put my little cube right in front of my reference image. I want to use 2 views so I can see what's happening on my respective camera and also my front camera. If this does not look like mine, then you can go up here to the top to Panels, Orthographic View, and choose the correct one. So is it the front? Is it the side? Is it the top? Sometimes you just have to guess. I got lucky. It's the front. Over here, if you don't see perspective, just go to Panels, Perspective. By the way, there is a new. So if you somehow screwed up your perspective camera, you can always create a new camera. And that's always helpful. It's been helpful to me in the past. All right, let's focus on this by pressing the letter F. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this here. And I'm just going to make it a tiny little bit thinner. And again, focus on all aspects. I'm making this a little thinner as well. And this is a good place for me to start. This is modeling tip number 2, which is that everybody knows, hopefully, that you're supposed to select this. You can do a Control E, which is extrude, and then bring this out. You also have this little button out here, which is extrude as well. Or for the ones that are really scared of shortcuts and everything, the really long way is under Edit Mesh, Extrude. There it is right there. Right, so Control E is the fastest way to go. So you can go Control E, And so shortcuts are your number one fans. You should love shortcuts because they just make your life a lot easier. What you can do with this model is you can just kind of go through and model it all the way up and down if you like to, but I'm going to show you a faster way, which is the whole purpose of this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and undo, Control Z, my favorite tool, Control Z, Control Z. And I am going to grab a curve. So this is tip number 3, which is, I feel like I've already given a bunch of tips, but let's go for number 3. And this one is to extrude with a curve. So we're going to go to create. We're going to go to curves and we're going to go to EP curve. And then I'm going to click, 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 and just basically follow the outline of this petal. I'm calling it a petal. It's probably not called a petal, but it's a rose window. So center. Then I'm going to right click, control vertex, and make my adjustments. So this curve is not set in stone. Haha. And you can go ahead and still manipulate it so that it fits the reference image a little bit better. Once you're done, go to object mode, and we are ready to extrude from a curve. Now, one of the keys is to make sure that the cube and the curve are really close to each other. And then I'm going to grab a face, then I'm going to grab a curve, and then do a Control E, which is an extrude. Again, you can click the button to go the long way. You'll notice that it's not the best looking model I've ever done, but let's go to this little window that pops up, which is called the Poly Extrude. And then in divisions, if you click on the word divisions, you can start increasing your divisions until you get the shape that you want. This is awesome because it works out really, really well. I'm going to go to object mode, and we now have a shape of the rose window. Now, if you feel like this is a little too thick or you need to make some adjustments, you still can. So for example, we can undo what we just did. And perhaps I need to move this a little bit more to the right. Maybe I need to bring this up a little bit more. And perhaps this little one is a little too wide. So then I can do it again. Grab face, grab the curve, Control E, increase your divisions until you're happy with what you want. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just grab these vertices and rotate them slightly because I do want a little bit of a point, because the next part's going to be to mirror. We need to mirror this to the opposite side. Now, before I move forward, this is something really neat that I think is really neat, is that you can click on this one, which is wireframe on shaded. And if you grab that curve and grab the vertices, the geometry will follow. So this still has influence over the geometry. So if you feel like this still needs a little bit of tweaking and things like that, you are more than welcome to make those adjustments now. Once I delete the history, though, it is permanent. So just keep that in mind. Here we are, super fast, extruding all the way. Seems like a lot of work now. This one was really fast. Now I need to mirror it to the other side. So there's a variety of ways I can do this. Some people duplicate it and flip it over, which is totally valid. I'm going to go ahead and center the pivot, delete the history, and freeze the transformations. And the next thing we need to do is duplicate this to the other side. If I did a Control D, which is duplicate, and then rotated it, it would take me a while to place this correctly and so on and so forth. Another way I could do that is clicking on the letter D on my keyboard, and that will give me the ability to move my pivot point. So another tip right there is the letter D on the keyboard, which helps you move your pivot point. So I want to place it right here, which makes it really convenient. So if I duplicate this, Control D, and then I rotate it, you can see that now I can do this a lot faster and quicker. Now you do have to be careful because I am rotating it based on perspective, which has a variety of angles. It might have been better for me to actually rotate this, or even type it in 180 degrees and then rotate this down. The next thing I want to do is combine these together. So I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to go to Mesh, Combine. Now, you may think that they are actually connected, but if I press the number 3, which is Smooth Preview, you can see that they're not connected. So it's really important to get these vertices together. What I'm going to do is weld them together. So let me focus here on these guys. And there's a fancy tool. If I shift right click and go to Target Weld, I can click and drag and start welding these vertices together. So that's very handy. So Target Weld is another fancy tool. If you can see it, you might want to go into wireframe mode, and then voila. So Target Weld is one method. There's also selecting all the vertices, and as long as they're close together, you can always go to Edit Mesh Merge. There's a variety of ways of doing everything, so you just have to pick the one that fits the best for you. I'm going to go back to shaded here. And one of the things we need to make sure is to clean our geometry. So I'm going to go inside my rose window and delete these two faces by clicking delete on my keyboard. And as long as I see a tunnel, it means that my mesh is good to go. There we go. Beautiful. You will notice that my edges do collapse when I press the number 3. So this is the actual model, and this is known as smooth preview, number 3 on your keyboard. So to keep those edges, to preserve those edges, I'm going to shift double click and then use bevel, Control B. The bevel tool is right here as well, or you guys can go to edit mesh bevel. That's the really long way. Again, Control B is your friend. So let's increase our segments to 2. I'm going to change my fraction to 0.3. And now when I press the number 3 on my keyboard, you can see that I get a nice clean edge. If you guys want to support that edge right here so that it looks much closer to the reference image, so I'm going to double click and move this up a little bit. You can also bevel this. Control B. Again, increase your segments and then make sure you reduce the fraction. In this case, maybe a 0.2 is appropriate. Again, if you click the number 3 on your keyboard, you now have a petal of the rose window. All right, cool. All right, now that we have this cool looking petal, let's talk about this one here. Is a more challenging shape. I'm gonna go ahead and hide this. And we could do this in a variety of ways. We could model like use a torus and model one and then duplicate it, merge it and all that stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and try something a little easier. I'm going to try using curves to get this shape faster. The first thing I'm gonna do is go to my curves tab and create a curve. And then I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees and then move it up to, there it is, right around here. So these are perfect circles, theoretically. Again, there is a perspective look to this, so we do have to, keep that in mind. Let's duplicate it again, Control D. Something like here, Control D again. Again, I'm just looking at my reference image, Control D. And there we go. So now we have a bunch of curves that outline our object. So now that I have this shape, I'm going to use the EP curve tool to follow along on the edge. So let's go to create curves, EP curve tool. And I'm going to hold down the letter C, which is basically to snap to a curve. So C, click and drag. And then I'm just going to C, click and drag all the way across. So hold down C, click, click, click. And what's it's going to do is basically create a curve that follows the outline. C, click, hold down C, and just kind of click and drag. Mine's not going to be perfect like these circles. And when you get to these edges, you want to make sure that, or these corners, you want to make sure that you add a couple of clicks there so that you get a nice edge there. So hold down C, C, click. And again, I'm just clicking and dragging onto the curve. When I get to a corner, just go 1, 2, 3. And keep moving around all the way along until you get to the end. Bink. Press enter. So now I have these 4 NURBS, which I'm going to hide for now. And I have this particular curve. And again, if you feel like it needs any tweaks or changes, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, center that pivot, and scale down. All right, let's scale this in. Whoops, let's scale this in. And you're going to notice that it doesn't fit exactly right. So let's go ahead and grab some control vertices and we're going to move these down so that we can get the general shape. Again, I'm looking at my reference image. And again, there's perspective in this reference image. So I know it's not exactly perfect, but I'm going to go ahead and use it because it's the best that I found. Let's go ahead and I'm sure there's blueprints out there somewhere. All right. We're going to select both of these curves. So select these 2. Then we're going to go to Polygon, Curves and Surfaces. And there's this button called Lofting. You can also find it up here at the top under Surfaces Loft. And when you click on that, you're going to get geometry based on the curves, which is really great because you get a complicated shape really fast. There's a little gap here, which I'll fix in a second. If you want to make any changes now, this is the time to do it. You can actually grab the curve, just like we did with the other one, and still make changes if you want to. So if you feel like there's something that's inaccurate and needs to be tweaked, Now is the time to do it. All right, next is to convert this into polygons because this is a NURBS surface. If I right click, you can see that I have control vertex, surface patches, isoparms, things like that. We really want is polygons. So we're going to go to modify, convert, NURBS to polygons options, and you want to choose control points. I'm going to tessellate. I'm going to center that pivot and then move it, and you're going to see that it doesn't look so hot. But if I go to mesh smooth, now I'm getting a really nice shape. Now it does have a lot of mesh, which I'm going to clean up. So let's go to edges and then shift double click all of these. Control delete. And then I can go through and start deleting edges that I feel like there's too many of. So for example, I might want to get rid of this one. And maybe this can be moved a little bit more to the front. And just get rid of mesh that you feel like isn't really helping out the overall shape of your rose window. Now there is a gap there. I'm going to fix it in a second. I just want to go ahead and clean up the mesh. Whenever I see a lot of face edges really close together, again, I'm clicking Control Delete. I remove them because they don't really do that much. And I really want to make sure that I get a nice, clean, low poly mesh. So I'm going to do a Control Delete on there as well. I'm just kind of going through and deleting edges. If I feel like they're too close to each other or anything like that, this will help. All right, let me show you the other method. Instead of using target weld, we can select those vertices, all 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can go to Edit Mesh, Merge. Bink. And depending on the threshold, they will merge. If they're not close enough, you might need to increase the threshold. But otherwise, that's how you do it. Ta-da! So very quickly, we can create a complicated shape really fast. Now I'm going to give myself a little bit of thickness here. Control E, bring this out. And again, just to support the edges, let's go ahead and double click. Now, I know there's a lot of details in this rose window, and you may be asking, like, why am I not adding everything else? That's beyond the scopes of this tutorial. This is more like an introduction to a variety of modeling techniques and how you can quickly create these shapes. If you want to add those extra layers, you're more than welcome to. Feel free to extrude to your heart's content. There you go. Let me bring up the other one, the petal. Ta-da! Super cool. Very fast. All right, let me bring this close and make it a little skinnier so that it fits in this piece. And now we can model the rest of the object. So you can see that we can do the same thing all over again, or I'm just going to duplicate this and reuse it. So Control D, I'm going to move it down, scale it a little bit, rotate it slightly. All right, now I can take my vertices and just start nudging them so that it fits the reference image. And once you're happy with that, let me move this one down a little bit. There we go. And then this one down a little more, being kind of picky. We can actually remove these. So let's go ahead and delete some faces. Make sure you delete them all. And these faces. I'm going to delete these, double click. Make sure you get rid of that one and this one. There we go. We can go ahead and duplicate it, Control D. I'm going to click on the letter D on my keyboard to move that pivot point. Let's freeze that transformation and then just go ahead and scale X, -1 on the X. Then I can rotate it, kind of spin it here. And then, of course, grab some faces. We don't need all these overlapping faces. Let's go ahead and select these faces, delete these, and then I can grab these edges or these vertices and merge them in. All right, I need to tweak it a little bit, and that's okay. Let's grab some vertices. Let's grab these and just kind of push them in. There we go, getting that beautiful shape. All right, let's keep going. Control D. Move it down, scale it. Here's another trick. Click on the letter D. I can rotate the manipulator, press scale, and then I can scale it in. So that kind of helps also. Once you're done, you're going to grab those faces and delete the faces that you don't want. Double click, delete, and then tweak your vertices. Cool. All right, let's duplicate this one. Control D. Again, use the shapes that you already have. Squeeze that in there. I'm going to scale it a little bit. Go to faces. Select the faces that you want to delete. And then make sure it fits in there. I might make it a little skinnier. There we go. There it is. Let's go ahead and duplicate this one too. Control D. I'm going to freeze that transformation, flip it on the -1. And there we go. We got one more. Then at the bottom, Control D. This one might not work because I deleted faces. That's okay. I can duplicate this one and just keep reusing the pieces that I already have, which is great. Makes it real easy. All right, so now I'm just adjusting my vertices, make sure everything looks as best as I can. Make some nudges. And there we go. We have one of the petals. Let's see what that looks like. Let's go to Arnold Lights, Physical Sky, and then let's render. Let me zoom out here. So as you can see, fairly quickly, I can create a really nice looking rose window. However, the real magic happens when we start duplicating special. Now this black background is the light. So let me go to show lights just to kind of hide it because it's a little distracting. Let's grab all of our pieces and we're going to group them together, Control G, and we're going to move that pivot point to the center. And I'm going to be using this as reference because I'm going to duplicate this. Click on the letter D again. And now we're ready to duplicate. So the idea is that I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and then I'm going to rotate it about 30 degrees. And then I need a bunch of those. So I can either do that 30 times or, and I just undid, I can go to Edit Duplicate Special, which is another tip, how to use Duplicate Special. So let's go to Edit Duplicate Special. Make sure you have your group selected. And I'm going to reset my settings, Edit Reset Settings. So I'm going to use a -30. And give myself, I think I'm going to go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 copies, maybe 11 because I already have one. And then I'm going to apply. And right away, you can see that I now have a rose window really fast. So it may take a little bit of time to get that first part going, but once you have it done, it's done. So let me bring in a torus to finish this up, 90 degrees. Let's go to our attributes here and let's reduce it to pretty low to about a 12. That's not that low. Let's move this to the center here. And I'm probably going to do a lot less of these subdivision heights. So I have about 6. I'm going to crush it a little bit. And I really want it to kind of like a smoother circle. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this out a little bit. And this is significantly bigger for the inside. So let's go to the section radius to about 0.2. Place it in the middle if you can. Bring that out a little bit. And then as always, I'm going to preserve those edges. So I'm going to double click on these edges. Control B. Segments. Reduce diffraction, number 3, and you can see what a nice ring we made. Next, let's grab this one, Control D, bring it down. Whoop. Scale. Oh, missed it all the way. Wow. Put it in place. Rotate it a bit, and there we go. Let's render. Turn on the resolution gate. Get a nice shot of it. There we go. Let's make a nicer render. Let's grab that light, the sky dome, open up the attributes, Control A, change the camera visibility to 0. I'm going to go to my render settings. I'm going to scroll down and then grab my HD 720 so I can get a nice quality render or bigger render. I'm going to go back to my light and increase my intensity to about 1.5. And now we're ready for a nice render. There's more attributes I can change to make it a better render. I encourage you guys to take a look at my videos regarding that. But just like that, in fairly quickly, we can actually model a intricate rose window pretty fast. And again, we only used a couple of tools. So we extruded with a curve, we used lofting and then convert that into geometry. We group things and then we duplicated special so we can quickly create the rose window. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. If you like this content, please like and subscribe and share, because that is your message to me, letting me know that you like this content and that you want to see more. Let me know what you thought about my ChatGPT intro. Please take a look at academic-phoenix-plus.com. There you can find free videos, ebooks, free downloads, and so much more. So take a look at academic-phoenix-plus.com. And don't forget to share if this videos are helpful, I would love to see you in social media. Please tag me in your social media. I'm in TikTok, I'm in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Please tag me. I would love to see your work. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Keep creating, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.